Hi, I'm Mary Ann with my sister and me Ministries, and I want to welcome you to Face Friday. We have been working through a series called Eyes to See and Ears to Hear, and we've been diving into the parables that Jesus had taught. This week, we've been focusing on the parable found in Luke chapter 12, verses 42 through 48. And in this parable, Jesus tells the story of an owner who leaves some responsibilities to a manager while the owner is out of town. And Jesus says that a wise steward, a wise manager, would be one who would do the things that the owner had requested or instructed. But the manager in this story, Jesus says, did not do that. Instead, he was very cruel to those put under his authority. And he sought his own selfish gain, his own selfish desires. And so when the owner returned, the owner was very upset about the way the manager had handled his affairs. And so at the end of the story, Jesus says that to whom much is given, much would be required. And to whom much is entrusted, there would be great demands. And so as we've studied this parable, Jen and I have been praying for you that you would not just know the gifts that God has given you, entrusted to you, the strengths, the abilities, but that you would give place to them. You would spend time perfecting those things, those gifts, those strengths, those abilities, and then that you would use them for good. That you would get those gifts out into circulation and use them the way God had purposed and intended you to use them. You know, God creates each one of us with purpose, for purpose, to create and do the things that He has ordained us to do. And so that's really been our prayer, that you would not just be able to identify those gifts, but that you would operate in them fully. You know, Jesus said in the garden, "Not my will, God, but your will be done." And we may sometimes have an issue with that, right? We get caught up in what we want, the way we want things done, the way we think things should be done. And so sometimes we kind of take the reins and do things according to our own will without even giving place to what the Father would want. And so I just encourage you, as you go through your day, as you go through your week, that you would turn to God, that you would spend some time in prayer and seek His will, His desire for the utilization of the gifts that He's entrusted to you. There will be demands put on you because of your strengths. You will be set in positions. Proverbs says your gift makes room for you. And so those gifts that you have will make room for you to use them. It'll set you before people so that you can get those gifts into circulation. So spend time in prayer, seeking the direction that God would have you. He has ordered your steps and ordained you to use those gifts for the benefit of others. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 16 says that each of us brings a supply to the whole body. God has placed these gifts among the body that we each bring a supply for one another, right? In Hebrews chapter 10, verses 24 through 25, he says, Paul writes, "Encourage one another to love and to do good." And so as you gather this weekend, maybe at your church, as you go through the weekend spending time with your family, maybe you have some social gatherings, I just encourage you to spend some time in prayer. Recognize the gifts that God has given you. Be thankful for them. And then ask Him how you can best use those gifts for the benefit of others. Much has been given to you, and that means much is required from you. God has entrusted so many things to you, so many people in your care or in your circle of fellowship. They're entrusted to you. Seek God as to what the demand for you and the use of those gifts would be. Ladies, we just encourage you to hold fast to hope. Know the strengths and the gifts and the abilities that God has given you, and then get them into operation for His purpose, for His will, that His perfect will be accomplished in you, not just today, not just this weekend, but in every day to come. Have a great weekend. We'll check in with you next time.